not got, yes. Please, the second slide. Yes. That's the stats, what kind of information I said before the presentation start. So that's a way. We have results from our meetings, analog and digital, and so from the dialogue rounds with a lot of people. So in the back you see the mind map from Klaus Cloud. All the actors, all names, and all the sessions are there. A lot of communication, a lot of information. It's not all in the guideline. A lot of presentation information and other information are on the project website. Yes. So I linked in the guideline to the website information, so it's more complex than this, the 45 pages. Yes, and other teams, other networks work on the same theme. So before we start, on the European level, 2018, 17, 18, other networks in Europe work in the line of the centers of vocational excellence. So these networks have results too. So all the information, I bring it together in the guideline now. I do my very best. Because I did my very best, it's ready. Yes. So Klaus said to me, the group from Malta, aware. Welcome. A long way to Hannover with problems on the journey, different problems. But you are in the very good club. We have the same journey problems in Germany, yes, especially and other guests too. So now another guest is also here from Switzerland. Christoph Thoman is from Switzerland. Come here. It's a journey too. Action to say, please stand up, yeah, so moving into action and so on, yeah, it's good for the AC, a very good idea.
And
so,
the brain.
Yeah, the brain, yeah, thank you. Yes, I go on. So the introduction from the guideline give you an overview. So we work special on issues and give answers in our meetings, in our dialogue rounds and so on. So that's the structure from this guideline. And then that was the issues and so on in the discussion points. That's the structure. So the whole guideline is in the morning. My assistant bring it on our homepage. So the guideline is now online in German and in English complete. So everyone can see this guideline now. It's European, worldwide, yeah. What you would want. So the next slide, please. Yes, that's another point in the guideline. You can read it. Self. And when you see the last thing, so now we are the actors. We work directly on the basic in the regions, in the schools, the web schools, or in other institutions for web. We have a lot of good ideas, not good ideas, excellent ideas, excellent best practice examples. And but we are not on the end. It can be better. And so now the political people must come on the floor and give us more resources, for more cooperation, for more innovation and other things. It's possible when we got the resources for this. That's a very important thing. And so we bring the concrete points. Yeah? So all people said what they need for excellence. Yeah? And so the political people must read this guideline. So then they know what they must do in the next period when they got the mandate to be for all the people in Europe on the right way. Yeah? So that's the link to the guideline. And one thing is to make it more so that we can come directly and bring idea from Excellence Center to schools. They want to be an Excellence Center. So that's the first step. We must work on this list. So please, the next slide. It's only in German, but we described in the first thing here the marks of excellence. And so when the principal or head of the school can make a checklist. So how is our standing? How is our level? Yeah? Status quo. And here is some things to do to be excellent. So that's an idea that all our discussion results over excellence in the different points. Bring it in this list so that you can control what is necessary to be more excellence. Yeah? That's the work for the next steps. So perhaps someday we discuss about and in the following meetings, so that we at the end have a very compact list to give it to other interested places for that to control how excellent they are. So that's this. That is, I think that's great. And now information. Now we are happy that our partners, our network partners from Italy are there.
And Malta.
Malta?
They were Thank you, Bob.
A little bit. Okay. Yeah. So that is the cut. That is the next step where we change a little bit the program. So thank you very much for your attention. I come later.
Thank you very much. Mr. Novacek? Okay, now we have to change the program a little bit. Normally there would be panel 1, but we now will have our guest Lea Steinacker, and after that the panel 1 will follow. So, I am very pleased to introduce Lea Steinacker. She is the co-founder and Chief Operations Officer of the Ada Learning company and joins us online. Hopefully. And her keynote addresses the need for digital transformation of that in order to help shape our future work. She says the ability to adapt is the key competency of the 21st century. So, warm welcome, Lea Steinacker.
Thanks for being to you all today, and I would love to share my screen so that I can see that you disabled participant screen sharing. Would it be possible that somebody in the backstage IT could enable me to share my screen? That would be wonderful so that I can share some slides. Is that possible in Hannover? Otherwise, I can also give my 20 minutes remarks without slides, but it would be great if I could share some, because I have a whole presentation. I don't know who might be able to enable me to share. Wonderful, now it should work. Okay, here we go. So, I would like to talk to you today about adaptability. Knowing that you are a community that is very interested in innovative learning and teaching practices and an entrepreneurial mindset, and I believe also in the digital future and how we can, especially as European partners, can work together on creating a future in this digital world. And I believe that adaptability is actually a core competency for this digital future. My name is Lea Steinacker. I am a researcher at the University of St. Gallen and the co-founder and CEO of ADA. So you will be hearing a little bit about ADA because we are actually active in exactly the space and sphere that you are discussing today. So let's have a look at the kind of world that I'm trying to describe today and why I think adaptability is a core competency for the future. First of all, unfortunately I can't hear anyone in the room right now, but I hope everybody in Hanover and virtually can see this image, and I'm wondering if anybody might remember this image. If somebody would like to speak up, either over Zoom or in Hanover, yes, there is actually a little hand from Hanover, so somebody is recognizing it. That's wonderful. This is an image we can see just one lady looking right into the camera right at us. Everybody else is very concentrated on whatever is happening on the stage in the background. Let's have a look at a second image. Now, again, if we were able to be present in a room together, I would now ask you to raise your hand if you might be able to recognize what these two images actually represent. Now, it is, we are in times of COVID, it is now just possible to do this with a little less interaction than usual, so let me reveal this little secret for you. These are actually two images from a very, very similar occasion. This first image was taken in 2005, the second one in 2013. This is an image on the left-hand side of the inauguration of the Pope at St. Petersburg Square in Rome. On the right-hand side, same thing, just 8 years apart. Now again, I would ask you what you see in these two images, what the major differences are. I think we can all agree. In the left-hand image, there is exactly one person who holds up a mobile phone. If you can see it in the right corner, right over here, somebody with a lovely old phone. On the right-hand side, lots and lots of tablets, of iPhones, of smartphones, and now I've already revealed what has happened between those two images. It is, of course, the introduction of the iPhone in 2007. Why am I bringing this up? Because the introduction of this piece of hardware was a major change. It was basically the introduction of a tiny computer in your pocket. And it did not just change how people interacted at the inauguration of the Pope on the right-hand side, and it did not just change how we now experience moments, which is very much behind the screen and very much connected to the internet. It changed a whole lot more. This piece of hardware, this piece of internet-connected software on the iPhone in this case, but of course there are many smartphones, it completely changed the economy, it changed the way that we work, it changed the way we live. This is example number one, how a piece of internet-connected software really changed the world, starting in 2007. Now here's another example. I wonder if any of you recognize these people. And I wonder this especially because none of these people actually exist. They are not real. You can find these faces on a website called thispersondoesnotexist.com. Now you're probably wondering, then why are we looking at these people? Because these people have been generated entirely by an artificial intelligence. They are completely artificially, synthetically created. These are people who are basically combinations of people who actually exist, but they have been calculated to create these images who I believe look incredibly realistic. You can go to thispersondoesnotexist.com and check these faces out. None of them are real, but they look incredibly realistic. The reason why I'm showing you this example is to give you a sense of the technological possibilities today. We are now in a world where we cannot be sure of reality oftentimes. We cannot be sure what has been artificially created or actually does exist. And in some sense, that's actually a wonderful creative world. That means that we, for example, have movies that have been created with CGI and all kinds of advanced AI techniques, and we can have voiceover voices that are not actually spoken by humans. But it also means that we have things like misinformation and deepfakes. It means that we live in a world where we really have to fight for certain facts. So this is the second example of something that is really rapidly changing in this digitally driven world. Third example, and this is my last example, to show you what I see when I look at our world at the moment. And this is a an example from various industries actually, but it is a company that was created through funding by Otto, a German company, which is actually also kind of famous for its large transformation from a pretty much catalog-based business to now a large e-commerce company. The company that I'm talking about today, though, is called Blue Yonder. It's a startup that is basically a tool for what is called predictive supply chain management. Practically, it means the following. It's an AI that can basically predict with 90% accuracy what will be sold within the next 30 days, which means that Otto is able to automatically buy around 200,000 items every month, which people have not yet ordered, but the AI has predicted that they will. And the reason why I'm showing you this is that it is one tiny example of how technology is changing entire industries. You can imagine what this means for a storage facility like Otto's here, in terms of planning, in terms of storage and future contingency planning, in terms of staff and personnel planning. It is just a complete game changer when it comes to logistical infrastructure and supply chain management. And of course, Otto is just one example. Blue Yonder is now actually being used by supermarkets around the world. It has been acquired by an American investor, so not just Rewe, a giant German supermarket, is using Blue Yonder, as well as Otto, but many, many others. So Blue Yonder, it's all about predicting what will be sold before people have actually decided that they will sell or purchase something. So these were 3 examples. The question of an internet-connected hardware device, the question of technological possibility of changing what is real and what we can create, and one technological possibility in the form of Blue Yonder, a predictive supply chain management tool that is supposed to show you just how much all sectors of society and the economy are currently changing because of the digital revolution. And I think we can summarize this by saying these times everything is changing, it is constantly changing, and it is fast, it is rapidly changing. And basically, let's have a look at how Europe is doing in these rapidly changing times. Let's have a look at the global platform economy that stands behind all of these digital changes. This is from July 2021, so just a few weeks old. This is just a visual representation of the huge, we can call them inequalities, or rather huge competition gaps between what America has achieved so far in the platform economy. We see the big names, Apple, Microsoft, Alphabet, which is the company behind Google, Amazon, Facebook. We see that Asia is really catching up and actually has huge conglomerates like Tencent and Alibaba, and then there's tiny Europe. The S, by the way, is Spotify, and the other S is SAP. Those are our 2 platforms in Europe that can actually sort of hold a candle to those from America and from Asia. Why am I showing you this? Because I want to make the point that Europe can, of course, play a really significant role in the digital future, but we need to find a European way to do that. We really need to step up and really play a more significant role in this digital economy. And I believe that if Europe wants to play this significant role in shaping the future, then we need a community of organizational change makers. We need people who are adaptive, who are able to respond to these rapidly changing times. And that is why I co-founded, together with my colleagues Miriam Meckel and Verena Polster, the company that is now Ada. Ada basically is a learning platform. We are heavily European in our motivation and in our objective, and we believe that learning is a lifelong goal for adults in whatever corporate or organizational or public service setting they may be. And we believe that learning is best done in the community. So we have come up with what we call the Ada Fellowship. It is a year-long program, and we focus on the entrepreneurial mindset of the people in our program. We give them socio-technical knowledge. So that basically means not just the technology. We don't just look at what artificial intelligence is. We want to understand how it changes people, how we can use it to our benefit, how we can mitigate harms. And then the last very important part is interdisciplinary skills. Obviously, you have to get into the doing if you actually want to make some changes. And all of this is done in our community from people from across sectors. We are a large community. We have 600 participants every year. We come from business, from politics, from civil society, from media, and we come together twice a year in large live events. Everything else is done via a big online community. Why do we do all of this? Why did we come up with this? We want to contribute to what we call a fair, inclusive, and sustainable economic miracle 4.0, to take that kind of very German concept of the Wirtschaftswunder. I think, and we believe at EDA, that we can turn this into a European approach towards the digital future. Because Europe has a lot to offer when it comes to all of these digital issues. And specifically, we do this with a range of European companies. So, for example, Swiss Re, Lufthansa, Audi, Lanxess, the German government is on board. Actually, I saw that some of your panelists are also obviously from various ministries. I believe I saw Minister Karliczek as well. The German government, by the way, is sending EDA fellows every year from every ministry and every governmental department. And we've had over 1,000 participants. We really want to be diverse in who we get on board with this fellowship, meaning what organizations we take on board. We also have a smart hospital, for example, the Universitätsmedizin Essen, because they have understood that even as a hospital, they need to equip their employees with the mindset, knowledge, and skills of the future. And now I'll get to the point that I want to make about adaptability. We actually were very happy to see that we were not the only ones who think so highly of adaptability, because the World Economic Forum has published their yearly report, and this year's report for 2021 actually listed as the top 10 skills needed in this year, 2021, for the future, as ranked by learning and development professionals around the world, has listed adaptability at the very top, together with resilience. I think after this year of COVID, we all know why. Resilience is very important, but adaptability, the ability to respond to change with an open and flexible mind, and actually be open to, well, responding to the future in new ways, and not just look at the past and do everything in exactly the same way as before. That is something we really believe in at EDA, and we're also happy that the word EDA actually is included in the word adaptability, but that's not where we come from. You will see that the other 9 points actually also play a big role in our fellowship year. Now, how do we go about doing this? What is this fellowship? What is this year-long program? We follow the learning philosophy of be, know, do, of course. We think that the mindset, the be, the question of character and how you look at the world is very important. Then, of course, the know part, actually knowing some facts and context and backgrounds. And then the do part, which is the very practical transfer part of it all. And we combine this in a 3-pronged approach. We have 3 dimensions in the EDA universe. We are online, we have a whole platform for all the EDA fellows. Then we have a transfer practical project. Every EDA fellow in their own organization, so everyone at the government or at Swiss Re in Switzerland or at the hospital in Essen, they work in small groups and actually come up with a very specific practical project during their EDA year. And then the 3rd dimension is our live events. I'll get to that in a little bit because they have a sort of bigger societal meaning. And we try to cover in this year all the larger topics that we believe are really important in this strive, in this European endeavor to really catch up and actually then shape the future. We talk about the importance of mindfulness in this digital age of information overload. We look at innovation management and how any institution, be it an educational institution or a company or a governmental department, how they can manage new ideas and keep innovating themselves. We look at AI, of course, and what these technologies do to our various sectors. I gave you some examples at the beginning. We look at ethics and what kinds of big societal questions we need to ask ourselves if we want to go ahead and be a good European example, as we have been with some of our regulations. At least some people think that those are actually great blueprints for the digital future. For example, GDPR, the General Data Protection Regulation, or now, I don't know if some of you might have seen it, in April, the European Union, the Commission actually suggested a new worldwide first law on the ethics of artificial intelligence. We also look at very human factors such as culture change and adaptive leadership. So as you can see, all of these topics are basically the ones that the World Economic Forum, if you remember those 10 skills, has identified as global skill challenges for anyone who wants to be part of the future. We don't do this alone. Ada is obviously not the only company working on this, and so we have gotten help from others to devise our curriculum. We're working with the University in St. Gallen, we're working with Google, with Headspace in America, with the Code University in Berlin, the Design Thinking School at Hasso-Plattner Institute, the Einstein Center. So we basically cooperate and collaborate with all of these educational partners to actually come up with the program every year. Now, one more word about our live events. We really believe that it is incredibly important to meet face-to-face or in a very interactive online way. So we have 2 large live events that either happen normally physically or also in interactive spaces like this one here today. So Morals and Machines is our big event on artificial intelligence and the ethics of these technologies. For example, this past June, we were at the Frauenkirche in Dresden. It's a beautiful cathedral in Saxony, in eastern Germany. And we have invited international guests. Here you can see on the right-hand side, Osh Agabi, a Nigerian neurobiologist who has come up with a device, a technical device that is able to smell like a human nose, which is fascinating. Or we had the Taiwanese digital minister, Audrey Tang, who talked about the Taiwanese government's approach to an open digital economy and open data sharing. It was fascinating. So Morals and Machines is really where we get together to talk about society at a big level. So I invite all of you actually, because these conferences are open to the public, so I invite all of you to maybe check out the next Morals and Machines conference in Dresden next year. And then there's the Ada Lovelace Festival, which is of course also the Ada from our name, which I'll mention just in a second. The Ada Lovelace Festival is our gathering where we basically bring together new technological ideas, and we really focus on those people behind the ideas, on the entrepreneurs and the people driving tech companies. For example, we talked to Maxine Williams, who is currently still the diversity head at Facebook. We talked about the challenges of creating a diverse tech community. We talked to the CEO of Wikipedia, Catherine Marr, about how they came up with this incredible worldwide encyclopedia. And we, of course, also talked to those who make political decisions. Angela Merkel was at every single one of our Morals and Machines conferences. We're having another event with her next week. She's very involved because she believes that not just the German government, but also as a European country, we want to contribute to this digital future. So these are some of the people I just mentioned. We want to make sure that we have a diverse set of views. Roman Chowdhury is a Pakistani-American at Twitter, for example, who's really trying hard to turn the company around in a more ethical direction. And very importantly, we believe that it's all about community. I've mentioned this before. We have a lot of exchange, a lot of interaction. We have a lot of discussions. So you see on the bottom, this was a large gathering of 400 Ada Fellows back when it was possible before COVID, where we had practical interactive sessions and actually also exchanged our organizational challenges. As I mentioned, some of them come, let's say, from the Ministry of Defense, some of them come from a Swiss insurance company, and some of them are from a German small company in Baden-Württemberg, maybe. And they realized in group work that many of their challenges are actually rather similar, but that it's incredibly important to actually start the conversation between institutions, between the economy, between politics, media, civil society, all of them together. And as I mentioned, we try to continue all of this in times of COVID. We have a lot of Zoom networking sessions and various interactions, be it on LinkedIn. We start discussion groups. There are people who meet up in tiny groups around Germany and Switzerland at the moment. We're really hoping to also go to other countries. We're actually looking at Portugal for next year, so stay tuned on that. And finally, we also, since we come from the world of journalism, we also offer very publicly, so you can go check that out, adamagazine.com. We are also trying to really turn this socio-technological perspective into something that is open to the wider public. We want to help people understand what is going on in the world and be more adaptive themselves, because the ADA Fellowship is, of course, about the ADA community and those people who have participated in this year, but we are really hoping to make that a very, very big group. We want to include more institutions, more sectors, and more countries, and so maybe our journalism could be a start for that. There's a newsletter, there's a podcast, so if you're interested in any of these issues of digital transformation, these might be for you.